Good morning. Hello, hello. Welcome to Tuesday. How are you? It's a bit hot here. I can tell you that. Not complaining. Not complaining, just saying. Hope everybody is doing great today. This week in Pathfinders, we're going to continue on with a dream class that I started last week. We're going to talk more about lucid dreaming this week, a little bit about astral travel and the differences between those things. Astrology, I want to talk more about house systems, the houses in your birth chart, and there are different systems. There's different ways of calculating your birth chart. We're going to talk about the difference between Placidus and whole sign or whole house, which is the historical. It's much older, okay, than Placidus. Placidus, I might feel, is a little bit more nuanced, but we'll talk all about that and which you might want to look at, or if you want to look at both. I can give you some really cool insights. So those are the things going on this week with Pathfinders and with Astrology Group. This fall, I am going to be launching a comprehensive astrology academy. All right, so keep your eyes open for that if you're really interested in learning astrology from the ground up. So whether you want to, maybe you want to become an astrologer or you want to just understand it enough for yourself, the thrust of my astrology school has to do with personal growth, spiritual growth, mapping your future. Okay? So that's going to be available later this summer, probably in July. All right, so let's see what's going on here. I get this, ooh, the jealousy card shows up. Divinity, I'm going to take it because I saw it. All right, that's relevant. Divinity, and then the jealousy card underneath. Focus, healer, and full moon. All right, so we're moving on from this new moon in Cancer, which is happening this week, happening within the next 24 to 48 hours. That energy sticks around a little bit. If you're wanting to start something new or start something that really comes from like a heart space for you, this is a great week to do it. And it is, even if you're not like ready to start something, this is a great week to plant the seeds of manifestation. And we'll get more into that later this week. I also want to say to you that I am working on some videos about Uranus moving into Gemini. I'll be doing the July videos and be talking about that for each one of the signs. Okay, so how that might impact you. I mean, this year we are having all the major outer planets. Pluto has already moved into Aquarius. Uranus is moving into Gemini. We just had Jupiter moving into Cancer. We've had Neptune moving into Aries. So these outer planets that impact us generationally, it's a little hard to stay away from the world events when we're talking about these big planetary movements because it impacts us as a group. And how you might be impacted is how it shows up in your birth chart. But make no mistake, the context in which you live does have impact. You have choices as to whether you take it in fully or you are kind of viewing it from a distance. It's not really about like running away from it or sticking your head in the sand, but you don't have to participate fully in the difficulty of it. Okay, you don't really have to do that. So I just want you to know that. We'll talk about that too. All right, Knight of Swords, the Lover's card, the Eight of Swords, the Ace of Cups, and Justice. The cards underneath are air energy here, lots of air energy. And then there's this one card. I know this is a Lover's card, but this is still Gemini, all right? And then there's this Ace of Cups. I feel like some of you are going in a different direction after moving on from entanglements, enmeshments, and that can be anything. It can be mindset enmeshments because we're talking about a lot of air energy here. And just getting balanced, making better choices, making different choices. Some of you may be moving on from really toxic individuals right now. I feel like that's a big split that a lot of you are experiencing, is that you're really starting to see the toxicity of things and going, oh, now I can identify this and I am not taking part in that anymore. There it is, Five of Wands. In this deck, This is not so much about conflict between you and somebody else. This is much more about fighting the dragon. So this can be about patterns instead of like, it's your fault, it's my fault. It's patterns. And that's a real accountability booster, is to be able to, and again, I think this is very Aquarian energy here, that you can see things from a bigger picture. Referencing back here to what I was talking about, and the Aquarius energy not showing up in the major arcana, but it is showing up in this Knight of Swords and the Eight of Swords. It's like anger. It's possible that you're seeing the dragon, you're seeing the bigger picture of things, maybe other people's emotions, or how they're not blaming you, but how you might be blaming them, or how we're dealing with certain relationships. Pull back and just see your patterns. So if you're like really enmeshed in a certain situation with a person, I want you to try and pull back and go, oh, okay, I see the pattern here. It's a little bit about detachment. Aquarian detachment is going to be a really helpful thing as we're moving through this year and into next year. Okay, because I feel like a lot of people are coming unplugged from their long-term patterns. The Two of Pentacles, the Queen of Swords, there's more Libra energy, and more balancing, more choices. Look at that. Again, look at the Temperance card. This or that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I like this because it's not so black and white. It's not like this or that. It's like, do you want to change how you're doing something? And maybe it's not like, oh, I'm just going to cut everybody off, or I'm just going to, quit this job entirely, or I'm going to quit this path I'm going on. It may be a little more nuanced than that. I know there's anger here and rage, and so there's something to be said for starting off on a new direction. But even if you're starting off on a new direction, aren't you really interested in reclaiming a healthy direction and how you're behaving, like taking accountability for your own actions, how I got here, and then saying, oh, okay, if I'm going to go in a new direction, I'm really not going to just drag my patterns with me. I'm going to move on from that. Queen of Swords, Knight of Swords. I'm going to really move on from that. There's Four of Swords, meditation energy. I like it. Woo! 10 of Swords. Oh my word. I feel like some of you, if you really thought about a situation, I feel like it would anger you, and I feel like there would be an ending. Like after you think about it for a while, it may be like, you know what, the best thing for me to do is end this. Okay. Okay, I don't laugh when the Death card comes up all the time, but I just did. So the Death card, the Sun card, look at that. Wow. And lots more choices. This feels, and the Eight of Swords in many decks show a person who is blindfolded and kind of tied up or wrapped up, but not really tied up to anything, although the Mermaid deck is a radical exception. We were talking over the weekend with my little group of amazing people who work with me on this channel, and Jen, who is a great tarot reader in her own right, said that she showed me the Eight of Swords in this Mermaid deck and was like, look, somebody bound her up in some other decks, in most other decks, including Rider-Waite. It's not like that. It doesn't look like that. It doesn't look like, it looks like most eight of Swords. Like you can get yourself out of this if you just make some effort, right? But the Eight of Swords in this deck is much more, yeah, here it is. See, like her feet are up off the ground. I feel like this is a Mermaid deck, so doesn't have any feet. Maybe it doesn't have any feet. Maybe there's feeling like there's no way to get somewhere, to go somewhere. But this deck that I'm using is the Mythic deck. And basically, it's sort of like, it's either the manipulative angel there or the Furies. Like, you're not in jail, although the swords are all around you. It can feel that way when you're in some kind of blocked mindset. And you're just like, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. But I feel like there's some accountability here. There's a decision to move on from a situation, 10 of Swords and Death. And I feel like that's going to be a good thing. The Sun and the Seven of Cups. So there's lots of other choices, and maybe some choices that you aren't even seeing yet because they're just on the horizon. They're kind of like, out there. right now there's a little bit of this five, maybe togetherness, fighting off the dragon, but there's some kind of thing that says to me that, like, I don't really need to be fighting that dragon anymore. I don't need to be really fighting that fight anymore. Like, I have, and I'm not suggesting this is an egoic thing, but sometimes you really have to say to yourself, like, hey, I've done a lot of spiritual growth. I've done a lot of healing. This is a card of healing right here, the Four of Swords. I've done a lot of healing. I've done a lot of all that. Like, at some point, there's progress in life. It's not just that you're sitting there constantly like, I got to do my healing today, and there's never any change or any movement. There's movement. When you do healing, and you wonder why people leave your life, or you wonder why something doesn't attract you anymore, you're wondering why this person isn't texting you anymore, or something like that, it's because you're changing your vibration, you're changing your frequency, and people just do drop out of your life. So some of you have been fighting to keep somebody in your life, which is probably why my intuition said, hey, go show them the Eight of Swords over there. Because to me, when I was talking with Jen and we were looking at that card over the weekend, I was like, yeah, that looks like it's against her will. But in this deck, there's a complete and utter capability, not even blindfolded, right? So you're beginning to see, you're beginning to open up, and that can make a lot of people angry. Like, there's somebody in my life that has been kind of gaslighting me, which can be the Eight of Swords too, kind of gaslighting me, and Queen of Swords doesn't take any of that. No more of that nonsense, okay? No more of that. So the Temperance and the Four of Swords, then there's this Ten of Swords and Death. So something is really ending, and with good reason. With good reason. I feel like you're clear of that mindset that says, oh, there's nothing I can do about it, or So this week with the full moon in Cancer, it's time to plant the seeds. And I know we have a full moon. No, sorry, a new moon in Cancer. That's what I was going to do. I was going to look at this for you. The full moon that's coming up is Aquarius, I believe. So no, it's Capricorn. Sorry, it's Capricorn in July. In July, the full moon's in Capricorn, July 10th. So a lot of you will be letting go of things that have become too heavy and cumbersome, have become too structured and closed off, have become too, heavy with bureaucracy. I feel like a lot of you are going to be looking at things like that. And then there's Leo, the new moon in Leo on the 24th of July. The Aquarius, okay, this is interesting. The Aquarius full moon happens on the 9th of August, the day after Lionsgate. So can you see the progression here? Because so many of the things, and this is Leo, so many of the things I've been talking about really have to do with Lionsgate, like the run up to Lionsgate. All these other, what degree is that? Aquarius, 16 degrees. So you go through the new moon in Cancer. Let's plant some seeds of happiness and joy for the future. Then there's a full moon in Capricorn. All right, I'm letting go of anything that's too heavy in bureaucracy, that's become cumbersome, right? Like, I see that I don't have to fight this dragon anymore. I can just decide to walk away from it. Why am I fighting this fight that I've been fighting for years? I don't want to fight that fight anymore, so I'm going to walk away from that. The Four of Swords is technically, it's 4 days. I mean, the swords are very fast energy. And so this can be happening very quickly, maybe quicker than you think. This is happening more quickly than you think. All right, I've got in time for Aries season, in time for their birthday, July, and this weekend. So it's getting faster. There's something about that says to me, maybe you've been thinking that you can make this change and it's like out there. Okay, it's like a year away or whatever. So I don't know. I don't need to do anything today. But then it's speeding up in time for their birthday, July, this weekend. So that Four of Swords makes me feel like there's going to be something happening in the next 4 to 8 days, because I was looking at this Eight of Swords too. The next 4 to 8 days, there's going to be some kind of shift away from just being angry and into actually taking some kind of action. There can be an opportunity coming in, an opportunity with legal ramifications. So whether that's a love partner coming in or a business opportunity or something like that, I feel like you're getting out of this Two of Pentacles kind of temperance, this or that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like, no, maybe I've been trying to massage things so it's not that big a deal. It'll work out. And it's just at some point, as you're doing this healing work, you're like, nope, it's just got to go. Just got to go. I'm going to ask about the Seven of Cups here. Seven of Swords, Ace of Swords. Oh, wow. 10 of Cups and the Strength card. There's Lionsgate. So by the time we get to August, I feel like this might be a separate story. 7 is July. So something about in July, like you do this, you just divest yourself is a good word. Divest yourself of a person, an idea, an old paradigm, an old pattern, and something that's going on behind the scenes now kind of pops out at you. All right, so somebody's been planning to text you, somebody's been planning to talk to you, and by the time we get to Leo time, then this is fully in fuego, okay? That's a good word for fire sign. Could even be a Leo coming in, because I'm seeing all this air, and I feel like this is about conversation and ideas. And there's a couple of cups here, so there's like, I'm considering my own feelings about something. By the time we get to Leo time and that full moon in Aquarius, I feel like there will be, this will have blown through. This looks like a storm to me, but it's also something that has been brewing for a while and just needs to be finished. All right, so let's keep going. I want to go deeper into this healing energy because I feel like you're maybe stepping into really up your game in terms of your healing, and that's going to move this faster. All right, so if you want to continue on with me, the link is below. Pathfinders, let's just keep going.